Interesting that you mentioned that. And I complete 17 years of being a professional speaker. And I just entered the scene about that time. And 2007 was when I.
All right, today, welcome everyone to indeed a very special episode today that we are introducing a special speaker who is none other than Mr. Simerjeet Singh, somebody who's coming from the space from years and years of being a motivational speaker, not only nationally, but internationally, setting his footprints across the globe. He's been doing the same for more than 2 decades now and being able to establish his authority in the space. Today, we've been able to capture this space of time to make sure that we're being able to inspire certain notes from his journey to make sure we can connect it to your life here as well. So welcoming you, Simerjeet. First of all, thank you so much for being a part of this show today.
Well, thank you for having me, Gopika. And I love the energy, the sincere intention that you bring to the table for these conversations. And I hope that our conversation will add some value to whoever's watching and to ourselves as well.
Lovely. Great to hear. So let's get started without any further delay. So we know that you come from the space of being a motivational speaker today, right, Simerjeet? But it hasn't been the same for you ever right in the beginning. I mean, you were completely into a different space of being into hospitality. And
That's
of
right.
course, being able to see the person that you are today. What really inspired you to become a motivational speaker, which isn't really a sought after opportunity for most of the management students who would be passing out from their different streams of education?
Interesting that you mentioned that. And I complete 17 years of being a professional speaker. And I spent 8 years before that in the hospitality industry. And 2007 was the year I relocated back to India because I did and I continue to believe in the India story, with all optimism and all self-belief there. And 2007, there were only a handful of people who could probably say that they are full-time professional corporate speakers or motivational speakers. Folks who had written books and had millions of followers. There was not a whole lot of social media activity back then, but a lot of traditional, followership. I don't know what channels existed back then, newsletters or, in-person meetings or buying books, etc. Social media had just entered the scene about that time. And 2007 was when I relocated back. I did not come back with a clear-cut intention that I want to be a motivational speaker. And second, I am in huge debt of my previous industry, that is the hospitality industry. I've worked for some of the world's leading hotel chains, studied at AIHM Chandigarh, Institute of Hotel Management Chandigarh for 3 years, then went on to Sydney, Australia for a year, worked in the US, UK, Dubai, and Australia, and then returned back in 2007. The industry made me who I am today. My work ethic, my ability to switch, my stage presence, my ability to solve problems, my leadership skills, interpersonal skills, a huge chunk of the learning that actually served me well happened on the job with these major companies in different parts of the world. So I'm in huge debt to the industry. And also the fact that I was able to travel across the world, work with different nationalities, be a part of different cultures. Grand Hyatt Dubai, I remember I had a team of around 50. We had 30 different nationalities. So all the way from Morocco and Syria to Afghanistan and Pakistan and South Africa and New Zealand and Canada. And, you name it. You had a huge chunk of participation from across the globe. And all those things leave imprints on you. And what it will culminate into, how all that will come together is something we are not able to tell in the short term. But in the long run, yes, it all came together beautifully. And I'm so grateful for that. I would have never imagined. There was no conscious effort towards this profession. I had no conscious awareness of it. But I had a strong desire, the big picture desire to do 2 or 3 things. Be my own boss, be based in India, in my hometown. That's where I still live. I still live in Jalandhar, which is not my hometown, by the way. I grew up in a city called Batala in district Gurdaspur, which is about an hour and a half from here, a small town. But Jalandhar happens to be my adopted city. I've been here for 20 years. So yeah, the intention was big picture. I want to go back. I want to rediscover myself. I want to reorient myself. I want to be my own boss. And I want to do something in the space of giving back to people. So that was the big picture. And then this thing just happened. It just clicked. And the first client, it just clicked. It's a long story. I've shared it on a lot of videos. Friend of mine heard the word motivation, like coaching, and he said, "Oh, you do something for my team." Just off the cuff conversation, just met him and he said, "Can you do something for my team? He ran a tech company here. He was a green card holder. He had come back. He was in Jalandhar too. He was running a small IT company, 20, 25 people. And I did a workshop for them and it went, when we finished, I was like, wow, I can do this. And they were like, wow, you did a good job. So that's how it started. Yeah.
Lovely. So good to hear. So I have, of course, been able to hear that part as well on how one really gets inspired. But
Mm-hmm.
truly, what one ends up doing as a course of what they want to pursue, and what you did, becoming a master at motivational speaking, was that something that you were seeking for yourself as well early in life? And that's the reason you wanted to get into it and empower people?
Mm, I would say I've always have a tendency to be helpful to others. I am an empath. I love it. Gives me great joy to be able to add value to other people. That was something that I enjoyed in my 8 years of hospitality a lot. I've always been a people person. I would hire people on my teams from people who had no previous experience, who would join as interns and part timers and grow on and flourish into senior roles. And one guy in the UK, it started as part time as a student, as an intern. I came in, I promoted him immediately. And by the time I left, he was senior food and beverage manager. I hear today, then he became later on the financial controller. 20 years later, I hear he's the regional general manager of one of the large hotel companies there. I'm, not bragging, saying I might have some role to play in that development. It gives me great joy. But at the same time, I think I want to give back. I want to be the person I wish I had access to when I was lost. That's
Yeah,
the driving force.
yeah, yeah.
Don't we all? They were mistakes I made. There were miscalculations I made, like all of us growing up, when you don't know what's the right influence, what is not the right influence, and you end up heading into the wrong direction. Or you find yourself at crossroads and you don't know which way to take. And perhaps a guide or a mentor might really make a huge difference. I just want to be that person for as many young people, young, old, whoever, doesn't matter, that I can. That's what drives me.
Lovely. So I'm sure that that actually lies at the foundation of being in a profession which is so profound. And as we always say,
Mm-hmm.
that, starting from being a teacher to somebody who's an educator to somebody who's, contributing in the space of motivational speaking could also come from the space of giving and,
Mm-hmm.
showing that care of empathy. So,
Yeah.
I've often heard that motivation lasts for a very brief period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And it is for people who constantly feel lost. And that's why they're seeking a piece of motivation for themselves in their lives, right? So, what is your philosophy, Simerjeet, towards, because you're in this space, what is your philosophy for motivation and how do you really see it?
So let me just clarify here. Motivational speaking can be a very broad term. What I do quite a lot is in fact, that's 95% of my clients are large companies, large MNCs,
Mm,
whether they happen to be Indian companies who are multinational or foreign companies who have presence across the world. I work with them on change. Embracing change is one of the most requested topics: innovation, leadership, growth
mm,
mindset.
mm,
And many of these organizational hurdles that they face in doing what they want to do, leadership, innovation, change happen to be, and how they crisscross each other, and the culture, how that helps. So within that space is where I operate more as a
mm,
keynote speaker. Motivation is the side effect of what might happen when people listen to, an audio recording or an interaction such as this one, or
Yeah.
attend a live keynote, etc. I've always believed motivation is the side effect when you're having a deep, enriching conversation, a conversation which has the potential to solve some hurdles that might be existing in your mind earlier. I do not go forth with the intent of motivating somebody, because that can backfire. It can be, it can be something that won't be that productive as such if you go with that intention. Because if you go with a mindset of figuring out what might be missing in this equation, and what kind of stimulus might this person might need in order to discover their hidden strengths, that's the better position to operate from. Answering your question, if motivation is for people who always feel lost, I guess, isn't that all of us? Don't we all feel lost at all times? Because in this race of making things happen, in this multiple influences that we are all subjected to, social media, constant comparisons, and constant so many other things happening, we are flooded with information, way more information than we need, way
Mm.
more information than our grandparents ever had access to, probably.
Mm.
Hence, they probably had more peaceful lives, more contented lives. So this advancement in technology is also come with a downside to it, which is always staying connected, and your mind's always running in multiple directions. While research proves that we're only able to make serious breakthroughs when we're able to narrow down our focus onto what's most important.
Mm.
So I would say the most important motivation that we all need, what can be source of motivation for all of us, is the ability to be in touch with ourselves and what we want to do with our lives, right? And that requires serious effort, which many of us are not willing to put down. We are not willing to stare at an empty page such as this one.
Mm.
We're not willing to do that, to stare at an empty page,
Mm-hmm.
sit down alone with your phone on airplane mode, and to sit down and write,
Yeah.
who am I really? And what am I capable of?
Mm.
And what do I want to do? And what's stopping me? And what's my action plan? Realistically, what are my challenges right now? Realistically, what is available to me right now?
Mm.
Most people, especially in today's day and age, are not able to put in that sort of work. Why?
Mm.
Because your phone will buzz with 20 notifications in that 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And before you're even able to take a deep dive, you will be back on the surface again. So we need to take that deep dive. Bulle Shah ji wrote कि पढ़ पढ़ इल्म हजार किताबां,
Mm.
पढ़ पढ़ इल्म हजार किताबां, कदी अपने आप ਨੂੰ ਪੜਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ,
Mm.
ਜਾ ਜਾ ਵੜਦਾ ਮੰਦਰ ਮਸੀਤੀ, ਕਦੀ ਮਨ ਆਪਣੇ ਚ ਵੜਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ,
Mm.
ਐਵੇਂ ਲੜਦਾ ਸ਼ੈਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੰਦਿਆ, ਕਦੀ ਨਫਸ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਲੜਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ, ਬੁੱਲੇ ਸ਼ਾਹ ਸਮਾਨੀ ਉੜਦੀਆਂ ਫੜਦਾ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਸਿਆ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਦੀ ਫੜਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ.
Wow. Yeah.
That you run after what's out there, but what you have already available, you don't value it. And I think this is something we all need to do a little bit more in our lives, is to value what we already have. What is missing? What else do we need? We have resources. If you have a mind that's functioning well at the moment, you have the ability to tap into a lot of strength, a lot of joy, a lot of motivation.
Mm.
But you need to begin with the belief that you are as capable as the person that you admire, that you put up on a pedestal as a speaker or coach or whoever, that you have within you the same ability. It's about that self discovery. So that's the motivation that we need.
Lovely. So, just to be able to detail out for, everybody, and there's something really profound and beautiful that you shared about, Simon Sinek, shares about something that you shared in Punjabi here, Simerjeet, which was to really touch upon and finding your big why, as we say. That is, find out more about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we really need to delve into deeper, every single day. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what you do. And to really inspire another life, one needs to truly be inspired themselves and be extremely authentic with it. So I
Mm-hmm.
know that, it's not as easy as it may really sound to find your why. How were you able to find this for yourself, Simajit? What were your values or principles, I may say, which pushed you towards
Mm-hmm.
finding this as becoming your full-time profession? I mean, of course, becoming a corporate trainer or a speaker. What was that why? So were you able to really pin it down and you can say that today that this is how it really happened?
So let's start with Simon Sinek. I think he gave a great talk at TED, and from there it started, became a book, and Simon's very popular on the speaking circuit. I love the whole idea of the why, and it's interesting for a lot of people in the Indian subcontinent. The idea of your finding your why became popular after listening to hundreds of years of having access, thousands of years of having access to the same wisdom in different words as before. Comes back again to take a look at what we already have, but sometimes it's packaged in a way that we really find it fascinating. We go after it. I have huge respect for Simon. However, I think we all need to. It's not very complicated, guys. It's all very, very simple, and we already have access to it. It's we who tend to not pick the simple solutions. That's what we've come to. We want to intellectualize something in the perhaps the misguided belief that it cannot be this simple. Self-discovery cannot be this simple. It's got to be something else. And somebody somewhere is supplying that, excuse me, that missing piece. While it is simple, in fact, if you practice it. And so let's go back now to the other question about motivational speaking and my connection, my journey into it. I would say I feel it was the awareness, the gradual awareness. It was not an instant thing. The gradual awareness that I have a gift that many people don't. It emerged to me, whether it was in conversations with staff or at home or elsewhere, that I have a gift of helping other people. I can listen. I have the patience and the ability to empathize and understand. And then maybe I have the desire to help them achieve breakthroughs. And it was a gradual realization that helped me move into this direction. And then the keynote speaking is a challenge that I love every day, because it begins with a blank sheet of paper every single time. You draw on your previous experience from multiple. It's like you're in a kitchen stocked with so many wonderful ingredients, but you have to cook something new up today, right? So you tinker, you experiment, you maybe add this, add that, and it's 45 minutes, and it's large audiences, so 500, 1,000, right? So, and it's high stakes. Is the one time the entire company will be under the single roof. 1,000 people flown in different parts of the world, different parts of the country, and this is their mission for 2024. You have 45 minutes. 45 multiplied by 1,000 is 45,000 minutes of company time being invested on one resource. And you want to pack in a punch. You want to pack in a punch that not just engages, not just inspires, not just entertains, but also leaves credible value for the team to move into the direction that they want to move. And that's exhilarating. It's a new challenge every single time. You draw upon previous knowledge, and I think that's kept me in the game for the dynamic nature. And that's what brought me out of hospitality, probably because I did a lot of pre-openings in my hotel industry, 8 years, Grand Hyatt Dubai, I was on the pre-opening team. Radisson in Jalandhar, I worked with several other properties. Pre-opening is exciting. You get to participate. There's so much buzz going. The door's not yet been opened to customers. There's so much going on. There's hiring, training. There's so many other things going on. And once regular operations kick in, it's fun. But the initial adrenaline rush sort of settles down over a bit. And when the property gets really stable, and then it can get boring, unless you're opening a new restaurant or you're doing something exponentially different, which doesn't usually happen. So this business, this line of work has fed I call it my manufacturing defect, which is to be, I get bored quickly, but it never happens on this job. It's always a new challenge, a new context, a new client, and new goals to achieve. And it's interesting. I was in Singapore a couple of weeks back. Global heads from different parts of the world. There's this large MNC, 70 folks, all maybe 45 different nationalities. And it was fun because it was challenging. Challenging for me is fun, right? So that's what kept me going over the years. And I hope it continues to be that way.
Lovely. So, a lot of people ask me, being in the same space of speaking, that, how do you constantly engage an audience? And especially when you have like a span of 45 minutes during the times when 20 minutes is maximum a person can pay attention to. right? So how do you really optimize those 45 minutes and make sure that it becomes extremely captivating?
No, I disagree respectfully to the 20 minutes attention span. It depends, even it depends how hard you've worked on the craft and multiple things. I would say even with the younger student audience where attention spans are really, really short, if you touch upon the pain areas, what they might be struggling with, you could have undivided attention. But that demands hard work from you, as a presenter, as a speaker. A couple of tips there. I think don't make it about yourself, make it about them.
Hmm.
That's one. Authenticity is huge. Use that as much as you can. Self-disclosure, vulnerability. Again, people really connect with that. Storytelling, personal stories as well as others. People connect with that. Make it fun, of course, goes without saying. Get them to get up, and because human beings are not the most productive when they're sitting down, I always encourage people to get up and move and do other sort of activities there. Create an environment where they want to have fun, and perhaps they walk away with something credible with that. So um, I would say you work with an arsenal, a repertoire of your tools that you develop over years, where just you can sense this. You develop that intuitive thing. You walk into a room, you know what the energy levels are like and what you might need to do.
Hmm.
Sometimes you enter and the energy level is already very high, and
Hmm.
then you could go probably straight into your core content. And sometimes they've just been bored with spreadsheets after spreadsheets, and this is the worst thing many corporations do, and I hope business leaders hear this segment. You fly them to a beautiful location halfway across the world and you shut them in inside, 9 to 7 p.m. until it's dark. And poor souls, they've traveled to a beautiful location. They don't even get to explore. They're 3 days there, busy with spreadsheets. And then they fly back, with a little sticker for the fridge or a little memento. And no, get them to, be outside. I do this very often. I walk into a conference room and, especially smaller gatherings, leadership meets and all that. They'll have the curtains all drawn, and it's daylight outside.
Hmm.
And perhaps we underestimate the power. I grew up in a small town. I'm in touch with my elements. I come from a farming background, and you open the curtains and there's some natural light comes in and it just changes the energy of the room, and just these simple acts of, so yeah, I don't know, lost track. Where were we?
So super. So that's the way that, you really make sure that you're being able to engage with the audience really well and,
Hmm.
really being able to reach out with the message, which is to open up to the world of speaking and, getting your message across as well. So there must have been multiple times, Simerjeet, in your entire span where you've been inspiring so many individuals. Was there a moment that you really felt touched yourself because of those interactions? I'm sure there must be multiple. If there's something that you'd like to share, and why, what do you think made that particular significant contribution different than others?
It'll be tough to single out because, as you rightly said, there's multiple, and they come from multiple channels. People meet me in person. It happens all the time. Whether it's an in person, somebody bumps into me at an airport or somewhere. And recently, just in Bangalore, I had this gentleman, probably in his early 80s, and I was doing a video, and he was looking at me. He came up to me, and then he saw I was busy. He went back. 10 minutes later, I went up to him on his table, introduced myself. He said, "We watch all your videos, and this is a group of seniors, all 80 plus. They were celebrating somebody's birthday, all very healthy, very, very lively than many youngsters that I come across these days. They were having a great time. And they watch a lot of my videos because a few of our videos for seniors went viral, and one was Budhappa Napne Ka Thermometer. Then the other one was I Still Matter by Patricia Fleming in different parts of the world. So
Mhm.
I've been blessed to have, followers and people who I was able to make an impact on from all different age categories.
Hmm.
TEDx talk that I gave in Jodhpur. So I was just about to go in the refreshments area, and I'm seeing this woman having a conversation with the security guy who wouldn't let her in because she didn't have a pass. And this is a fourth grader
Mhm.
who's, and I don't even know how that works. He has a portrait of me using, what's that thing called? Rubik's cubes, right? And his mother was overjoyed, and and this guy, tiny little fellow, right, must be grade third or fourth, and he was all there brimming, sir, I made it. And my daughter told me that dad, you cannot imagine how long it takes to use Rubik's cubes to make a portrait of someone. And to be honest, I don't know, but I'm sure he put in great emotional labor into that, and he came up with it because he won the first prize reciting a poem that I had put on my YouTube channel sometime back. It's called I Can, Say I Can. And he learned my style and learned that entire thing and won the first prize. So this is what he made. We have it here, right here.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. That is absolutely
This
fabulous.
is by a fourth grader who's supposedly spent hours doing this, and it's such a blessing. So it's I am blessed to, sometimes even you sitting here or when I travel and, and you meet somebody and it's just a video you recorded or something you put out. It's all about the timing. And to anyone who's in this space, I tell you this, don't underestimate the power you have. If you have an audience, if you have the tools available, just like yourself, Dr. Gopika, if you have a camera available, you have a mic available, go out and share your story. You have no idea how much of an impact it could make on someone else. Someone sitting somewhere far across in the world struggling with something could have a breakthrough.
Yeah, so true, so true. In fact, those are the moments that one really works for all their
Mm.
lives,
Hmm.
is when, these small little defining moments tell you that you're doing the right thing.
Yep.
And that was indeed, that was, one of the most beautiful expressions. And of course, coming from children, it becomes extremely authentic as well,
Hmm.
right? And so share with us, Simerjeet, that there must have been a lot of moments that you felt lost, right? And you
Hmm.
needed to inspire yourself because it hasn't been the best day, the best month, or it's been, a more tiring time for you, and more
Hmm.
than physically, mentally. Then
Hmm.
how do you, you need to still go out there and be able to inspire people. Do you find that difficult, or are you spiritually practicing something so that you can first align yourself and then go out there?
So I go back to my hospitality background once again, to the work ethic, which taught me it's always showtime. It's
Hmm.
always showtime. You have 103 fever running, doesn't matter. Pop in a paracetamol, come back in,
Hmm.
smile, and it's showtime. That's what the trade taught me.
Yeah.
It's showtime. That we are showmen. We're in show business, and the hotel lobby is a stage, and you have to put on a brave face. You really have to do whatever needs to be done to infuse that liveliness into your team, into your customers, into the atmosphere. You should not walk around with a sullen face
Hmm.
in that industry. So I think 8 years was long enough for my professional DNA to have that sort of impact.
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's lasted even today. I'm prepping up for my keynote. I'm outside a room and I'm wearing a dark suit just like this one here. I'm not wearing a name tag, but people are still drawn to me, saying, oh, do you know where that conference is happening? Do you know where that restaurant is? They're asking me all sort of questions. And I'm still wondering, it's probably now had an impact on my body language that people think I work here, which is interesting. So no, are there days I feel tired? Of course, yes. But then when you have a mission to accomplish and you draw upon all resources available, that's one of the tools. Of late, I've been doing a lot of this. We've done this activity a lot in our workshops. I learned it from Jack Canfield. It's called the Who Are You activity, and I encourage everybody to do it. Take a small card just like this one, pocket size. You can carry them around in your pocket, multiple colors available. Choose white, whatever works for you. Sit down and write in, maybe give 20 different positive empowering answers about who are you,
Hmm.
right? And come from an authentic space. Nobody has to see this. This is yours. You
Hmm.
should believe in it. Okay. Sit down, take a card, say,
Hmm.
who am I? And write down 10, 15, 20, whatever comes to your mind. Go beyond the superficial, go beyond your name, designation, religion, views, etc. And then write down who are you at the core. Some of the things you could already be practicing, some of the things you aspire to practice.
Yeah.
Okay. And carry it with you. I carry one of these cards. I keep changing it frequently, but I carry it with me. Read it frequently, visualize it. Those words, for example, this line was in my dream the other day. I'm a motivated, focused, determined individual who is destined to succeed. Wow. Say it to yourself, right? It'll feel uncomfortable and like a lie in the beginning. What am I saying? But as you begin to soak it in, I am a motivated, focused, determined individual who is destined to succeed. And you know what happened? You know what happened after I repeated often? It came to my mind that I came out of 3 instances where I was dead for sure, but I did not die. There must be a purpose. I had a horrible car crash driving. This is way, way back, driving a Maruti 800 on the NH1 just before reaching Delhi. And there was the car turned over twice, fell 8 feet in a below in the fields, upside down. And you know what this, I don't know what they call it, but this little beam of iron that supports the windshield was turned and it stopped just inches from my chest.
Okay.
And I still have that mark. I escaped with just a scratch on my finger.
Okay.
And when I repeat this affirmation often, it so occurred to me, there's got to be a reason. There's got to be a reason, right? And you just find your reasons. Find your reasons. You have to, right? Nobody's coming to rescue you. We must learn to have our own coping mechanism. Especially, nobody's coming to rescue the coaches and speakers.
Yeah.
My mom used to, God bless her soul, she left us November last year. But when I'd say, Mom, she would sense that I need some pat on the back from her. She'd say, come on, you're somebody who encourages others.
That's what they say all
As
the
if
time.
leaving the sentence incomplete, as if saying, Tere ko ki zarurat pad rahi hai? So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm superhuman now. But no, we have to discover our own coping mechanisms to pick ourselves up back again. And it's human. It's a human thing to find yourself, looking for sources of strength. I have a very strong spiritual system that helps me go back on track every time.
Yeah, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
you want to get into your coping mechanisms here.
Mm-hmm.
How is it that you're constantly growing and, upgrading yourself so that you can match up to, of course, the skill sets that you require to be in this profession, but
Mm-hmm.
also to really, harness the potential of the mind so that you can really say out what they need to hear, which is your audience. So how do you constantly upgrade yourself?
One is thanks to how this conversation is happening. We met at the Success Gyan event in Mumbai, and where you were also attending, and I was also in the audience. I show up as an attendee, as a participant at many learning events across the country, across the world. I fly internationally also at times to do that. I set apart some money in the beginning of the year to do that. A lot of times I was at a couple of events, people say, oh, so I'm so looking forward to your speech next, Mr. Singh. And I said, I'm not speaking today. I will be in the audience. And they were like, really? And that's what I'd love to do every now and then, is to sit in the audience and just see. The guy did not have the mic close to him, and it made a huge difference in the sound, how the room was not lit properly, etc., etc. Picking up on these things. So that's the one learning. We have to devote ourselves to our craft, whatever we choose, right? And if being on stage and inspiring people and sharing my views and sharing my stories happens to be my craft at the moment, I have to fully embrace it. I think this is where we go wrong. We don't fully embrace whatever role we are in, right? We use it as a stepping stone to the next thing. ये तो मैं अभी time pass कर रहा हूँ, इसको तो मैंने करना ये है. So then life is always you living always in that delay mode, and you never experience great amount of intensity in whatever you do, because everything is a stepping stone to something else. Well, when that next step comes, I'll take it, but let me fully take out the lessons from this right here, right now. Right. So I think that belief drives me to constantly upgrade myself, to learn, to never take things for granted, to always have the ability to start from a blank page, to brainstorm, to understand that tech can be helpful, that, reading books and all those things. But it's essentially all these stories, it's whatever needs to be said has already been said, in many different ways and forms. So how do you artfully package it in a way where there is context, where there is relevance, where there is immediacy, where there is, it's relevant today, and how it can resonate with that person to help them have their breakthrough. And I think it's your devotion to that craft that helps you constantly going, so that, listen, if I get bored, my audience will definitely get bored. So I think it's my primary duty to ensure that I am constantly reinvigorating myself also on this journey. So that's what drives it.
Yeah. So, which means that you're constantly making sure that every single year you have time and resources that you're
Mm-hmm.
setting aside to, of course, be able to upgrade in the form of courses, attending events, networking, and thereby constantly being able to see, the upgrade that we really require to be in the profession, which all of us do require from time and again, right? So,
Yep.
coming back, onto really finding out certain areas and some of the most commonly asked questions from somebody who wants to be in the space as one of the expert speakers, right? So
Mm-hmm.
tell me, Simerjeet, can a person be an expert speaker in every single space?
You could factually do so, by memorizing or getting yourself familiar with the facts and other domain related things. But I think you will eventually settle down into something that comes more naturally to yourself.
Makes
And that could be an exploration process for many coaches and speakers. In the beginning, you don't have the liberty to say no to, things. And you're asked for a talk on time management. You say, okay, I'll do it. Interpersonal relationships, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. Now that helps you. You begin with that broad spectrum. And then you narrow down into something saying, aha, this brings me joy. I really believe in it. This is me. I'm the change guy. I'm the disruption guy. I help people deal with change and disruption. I'm the leadership person. I'm in this space. And so I think that's going to be a journey that will unfold for many people who might have started on this path. I will not encourage you in the beginning to say no to a lot of work. Let that be your push outside your comfort zone to explore. Of
Mhm.
course, if you're not a finance person and doing a talk on accounting, or that would not make sense. That would definitely not. That's not what I mean by stepping outside your comfort zone. But of course, stretch. And for example, innovation happens to be a topic that is highly requested. I speak on it a lot. I've spoken in multiple countries across the world, and I think it started with a push outside the comfort zone with an invite from Saudi Arabia, from a company which was in the mom, and then they had a huge in-house innovation department. One thing led to another, and they wanted workshops. This was not a keynote. This was not 45 minutes. This was not 60 minutes. This was a whole one-day workshop. Senior leaders, 80% Saudis and 20% expats from other parts of the world, including
Mhm.
Indians and Pakistanis and other parts of the world. But then, by and large, locals as well, which really took me down as I said yes to it. And I discovered that, my whole career has been innovation.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in Jalandhar. I'm serving clients across the world. We're innovating. We set up this virtual, state-of-the-art virtual studio, which we use to deliver talks to multinationals across the world, such as Meta and Siemens and so many other big names.
Mhm.
We were innovating. We were making it happen. And it all suddenly, that light bulb moment after going through that material came.
Mhm.
And innovation was something that I discovered as something I really enjoyed talking. So had it not been for that particular speaking engagement or workshop thing, I wouldn't have discovered that part to myself. And it's now a regular thing. And so yeah, sometimes it's by accident, sometimes it's by design, but play with it and see where it takes you.
Lovely. So we're going to take these as some really rapid fire, quick action tips, and this is
Mm-hmm.
something which is going to really validate what we really do as a part of this industry to make sure that we are empowering a whole lot of new generation of capable potential speakers, trainers, and coaches. So let's get this started. So tell me, a whole lot of us have stage phobia. How is it that
Mm-hmm.
you handle it for yourself?
Stage phobia is your mind kicking into action. It's nothing negative. You should not get over it completely. You need that little bit of a mental high, mental, emotional, nervous high in order to give your best. So it's your friend in disguise of fear.
Yeah, thank you. So we fear language and we feel that if we are not really speaking in English, we might not be doing a great job at, relating our thoughts. How true is that in the industry?
इंग्लिश बोलने से कोई अच्छा ज्ञानी व्यक्ति नहीं बन जाता. इट्स जस्ट बहुत बड़ा वहम है. एंड आई थिंक इट्स अ कॉलोनियल माइंडसेट. वी नीड टू गेट ओवर इट. जो भी भाषा आपको कंफर्टेबल लग रही है, हिंदी, पंजाबी, उर्दू, इंग्लिश, जो भी है, इफ यू फील कंफर्टेबल, एंड सम पीपल जनरली डू, टू स्पीक एंड राइट एंड थिंक इन इंग्लिश बिकॉज दैट्स हाउ दे ग्रू अप. आप उनको जज मत करें. और अगर आप हिंदी में या पंजाबी में या जिस भी फॉर्म में अपने व्यूज एक्सप्रेस कर सकते हैं, आप लोगों की परवाह ना करें, क्योंकि ज़माना ये है कि आपके शब्द जो हैं, आपके ख्याल क्या हैं, आपकी वैल्यूज़ क्या हैं, आपकी सोच क्या, आपके आइडियाज़ क्या हैं, वो ज़्यादा मैटर करता है. एंड आई थिंक मोर एंड मोर यंग इंडियंस नीड टू understand that this is a double-edged sword. Not knowing English will, you won't be able to enter some places which are exclusively reserved for those who learn how to speak English. So why not learn and master this language? But at the same time, understand, here's the thing. I was at an event recently. We had a few 10 people had flown in from their head office to do this event here in India. And the guy from the India team said, you're going to stand up and say this thing in Hindi. And I see he was blushing, that his entire face was red, literally red. He just had to say two words in Hindi to this audience in front of 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say to him, but I could not. So I kept it to myself. बेटा अब पता लगा ना किसी और की जुबान बोलना कितनी मुश्किल है. तूने दो शब्द बोले, इज लाइक रेड.
Yeah.
So if English happens to be your natural thing, do it, do that. और हम उनको जज ना करें, and if not, it's just go with the flow. I mean, ये सिर्फ superficial बात है जो मैटर नहीं करती इतना.
So I love that because you, of course, made sure that we were able to explain that also using another language, which was, of course, in this case, Hindi. So going across to the next question here in this very segment. So I want to understand that how do you handle these, I'm forgetting my content. I will not be able to remember my entire speech. And that's the reason I don't want to speak up. So how do we handle that?
किसी को क्या पता आपने क्या लिखा आपने क्या प्लान किया था. सो इट हैपेंस. या यू ऑफ कोर्स यू आर नॉट अ रोबोट एंड यू आर गोइंग टू स्किप सर्टेन थिंग्स. एंड ऑलवेज वो कहते हैं ना कि कवि की यही सीमाएं हैं, कितना कुछ अनकहित रह जाता है. वो स्टेज पे नहीं उतरने के बाद यू विल गेट टू रियलाइज, oh, आई वांटेड टू से दिस एंड सेव इट फॉर द नेक्स्ट टाइम. सारा कुछ आज बोल लेंगे तो देन यू गोना बी बोर्ड विद दिस एंटायर थिंग. सो विल हैपन. नोबडी नोज व्हाट योर सीक्वेंस वाज. Just go with the flow and speak from the heart. Nobody will figure out.
Super.
It's all in
So
your head.
that's
It's all in
something
your head. Yeah.
really well. So only you know, and only you know what you're really going to be speaking up. So the next set of a very important and a very commonly asked question here is, my hands will start shivering, they will be able to see that my legs are trembling. Now, I don't want to be embarrassed. How do I tackle that?
I personally would use some breathing breaks before
Mhm.
going on stage.
Mhm.
It depends what works for you to calm things down. Um, I've seen people use visualization. I have seen people doing push-ups. I do push-ups sometimes before I go on stage, or even before virtuals. You could listen to music if that helps you. It's your orientation. You could sit in silence, just sit in silence for a couple of minutes, breathe, hydrate. I would avoid caffeine immediately before going on stage.
Mhm.
I would, if I love my coffee, I would ideally have it maybe an hour, 2 hours before, so that I'm the peak of that coffee absorption cycle. I'm not having an immediate kick. Yeah, and just be in the moment and have some early wins in the stage. So what I mean by early wins is, as I think what's his name, our martial art, Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, he said, I'm not afraid of the man who knows 10,000 kicks. I'm afraid of the man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times. We all have that one kick that we've practiced 10,000 times and it works. I would want you to probably, as a speaker, coach, influencer, somebody on stage, have to have that kick early in that segment, so that you're able to have an early win on stage. Early win on stage is then going to get the ball rolling for you, and then let your preparation and other things. I always say this to myself and to my team also. The prep part is what do you do before,
Mm.
right? And then you set it aside, and then you let your other part of the brain take over. Yeah, and you let it do its job. You don't interfere, because then another part of you is surfacing, and magic happens.
Yeah.
So don't interfere. Don't bring in logical sequential stuff you memorized 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going in a different form. Go with the flow. Something better might emerge.
Wow. Lovely. So a whole lot of different things coming up. And the last question in this segment, we'd like to quickly find out from you, which is the most important integral question. It's a statement that we end up repeating to ourselves, even if we are in this profession, which is, do I have it in me? I don't have the confidence. I'm an
Mm-hmm.
introvert.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that I'll be able to tackle and handle the stage and the fear and the audience. How do I really take care of this?
Imposter syndrome. Yeah. We're talking about the imposter syndrome. I don't deserve to be here. Well, somebody believes in you, and that's why you're here, right? And somebody believes in you, and that's why they gave you the mic. Somebody believes in you, and that's why they gave you the job. And somebody believes in you, and now you must believe in yourself. And I think that's what it is to really at that moment fully embrace what's happening and step up to that occasion and show up 100% and just give it your best and go with the flow. Whatever happens, you take care of it later on. It's a learning process. Sometimes things will definitely work in your favor in the way you wanted it to, and sometimes they won't, and it's going to be a learning process.
Super. So that was the wonderful thoughts shared on self-belief, confidence from the world of speaking, getting into becoming as expert and as a professional like Simerjeet that we have here in the room today as well. So thank you so much, Simerjeet. I think I have thoroughly enjoyed this interaction with you. It gives me immense pleasure to be able to share this with our set of audience today. And a big thanks to you once again. Thank you so much.
Likewise, Gopika, thank you for having me. Thank you for the warm and powerful energy you bring to these interactions. I wish you great luck ahead in whatever you choose to do. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank my team and everybody who makes all these interactions possible. And I hope whoever listens from this benefits and adds value to the world and passes the information on. Thanks.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care, Gopika. Bye-bye.